Guys, we're doing a set of injectors on this 5.3 LS. It's a 2015 Suburban. Already got the intake off. I'm sorry, not the intake, the air box. We're about to get the intake off right now. All these clips down the side, batteries unhooked, obviously. Pull that intake, shouldn't be bad, and then we'll have access to our fuel rails, which we'll need to get out and replace all these injectors. This one has kind of weird symptoms. There's a couple codes, but basically it has intermittent misfires, and it's not uncommon with these LT series to have a couple bad injectors, and they're not that old. I mean, yes, this car does have a lot of miles, but it's really kind of a default, but obviously not covered. So I recommend it. We'll just replace the full set, and this customer should be good to go on these kind of intermittent weird symptoms. Guys, we just pulled this intake off. There's just a few 10mm bolts that go through these holes all along the side, a couple connections, a couple intake hoses, pull them off. Here is the fuel rail. We're obviously gonna have to take off all of these fuel lines, those fittings there, and then obviously these bolts to the fuel rail, all the electrical connectors to each individual injector. Sometimes they're hard to pull out. We're gonna just cross our fingers and pray that this one won't fight us too much. You definitely have to use some force. You can't be shy with it. Gonna probably break out the pry bar as well, and just, you know. Anyway, I'll show you when we get there. Let's get all these lines off, connectors, all that. Guys, we're gonna start on this passenger side. I got all the bolts out. Now they do have retainers, so they don't come out. Okay, it's a good thing. You can't drop it in the intake. So as long as they're all loose and can move up and down, got the fuel lines off. Obviously, all the wiring harness to the injector. I just laid it to the side. So this one doesn't have a fuel pressure sensor in the back in terms of the fuel rail pressure. This side does. So you have to unclip that when we get there. But right now, this is completely detached and ready to come up. I have yet to pry on it or pull on it or try anything. We're just gonna try lightly. I got my little crowbar here. I mean, be careful where you decide to push and pull. This rail will bend. So we'll just see what we can get. Start gentle, but I assume it will need a little bit of persuasion. Guys, we got this first rail out. You can see this back injector almost separated. That would have been a really bad time. But look how different this looks than all the rest of these ones. Interesting, right? Not sure why. Yeah, actually, might be a coolant leak. I'm not sure. You could see the corresponding white crappy gunk on these three, and then the back one is black. So maybe that's part of it. Huh. Anyway, let's throw these new, get these retainers off, throw the new injectors on, new seals, everything, and we'll be good to go. All right, guys, we got this side, all the new injectors in. Okay, obviously you have this retaining clip where you need to make sure these little nipples that stick out on the injector side and on the rail side are both clipped into the centerpiece. Okay, I lubricated the O-rings that go into the fuel rail from the injectors just with a little bit of saliva. Okay, what else? I'll probably do the same on these O-rings when I put them into the head. Yeah, I mean, push down with force, make sure it's all the way there. Don't really use the bolts to sink it in. You know, that's just to hold it there. But the retainers, make sure they're on and good. And we should be good to put this rail back in on this side and then pry out this other side. Got the rail down evenly, and I just put these bolts kind of by hand tight. I'm gonna go ahead and do 18 foot-pounds, the book calls for, torque spec on this. Evenly, okay, inner to outer, do it evenly, and then we're gonna switch and get this side out. This driver's side is proving much more difficult. Best I can say is you gotta work it. I have the first injector and the last one loose. You can tell because of how much the rail moves. That one's free. The middle two ones are not yet. And you don't want to just pry from the side that is free. It's just going to bend the rail. And I'm chewing up these pedestals where, I mean, it's still going to bolt in fine and be flat mostly, but I'm chewing up these pedestals. It's hard, man. I mean, I'm looking online and see people fighting for way longer than me, so I guess I shouldn't complain, but that's what's going on. We just got this other fuel rail out. It was 1 hour and 6 minutes. That's how long it took me to get it out. Keep in mind, we got to clean all these ports that go into the head where the injector seats. So let's swap over these injectors, put it all back together. Guys, we got this other fuel rail in as well. Just a note, I had to get different hardware because I chewed up the bottom of the bolts when I was trying to pry off this one since it fought me. These ones, threaded right in, weren't a problem. I could tell these bolts were chewed up, so I just ran and got new ones. It's, I think, M8 by 1.25, and I got 55 millimeter bolts. A couple washers, boom, they fit perfect. So yeah, that's the thread size. Rail is in, injectors are all clipped in. I'm about to put in these fuel supply lines that go, these fittings here. And then, yeah, make sure to put in your padding again. And then obviously the intake manifold, air box, boom, done. We'll fire it up.